Well, tonight's Talk at 10, how should social media be used? Social media is getting our attention tonight. The second in charge at Price Chopper visited Syracuse University today to talk about the case of a Twitter controversy giving Price Chopper a public relations headache. A customer posted criticism on Twitter. A Price Chopper employee sought retaliation against the customer. It highlighted the strength and dangers, too, of social media. And then this all ended up at the iSchool up at Syracuse University today, where they had just
a real-life lesson.
Yeah, a real-life lesson, an intense discussion about what happens with social media when it's used and all its powers unleashed on a company, and that's what happened in this case.
The person
interesting.
At the center of this, correct me if I'm wrong because you know a lot about this, was in a Price Chopper and tweeted probably through a BlackBerry or an iPhone or whatever.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
And said something like, every time I'm in a Price Chopper, I realize why it's not Wegmans. There are some bare shelves, and then I guess they snapped a picture of one of the signs in there and shipped it off. And then we know it goes everywhere.
Right, that's right.
And what happened on the Price Chopper end was there was someone who didn't like it and who in some way tried to apply pressure to where this person works and say that they're damaging to Price Chopper as a company for having put that out there.
Which is not what Price Chopper wanted to happen. Once they found out about it, they did respond to it, and that's part of what they got into today up on campus, where they were saying that they've also learned a lot from this. And in fact, if you go to our laptop right now, Pat, for just a second, you can see we have a comment up here. This is Kelly was the moderator of this discussion in Professor Rotolo's class, and she sent us a message here on Twitter tonight saying this was a great learning experience for iSchool students, real-world situation followed from beginning to end. And you got to give Price Chopper a lot of credit for all the hits that they took at the onset of this a few weeks back when people were adamant, and they're talking on Twitter, they're mostly on Twitter in that realm, but also on Facebook to some degree as this spread, that people were really angry at Price Chopper that how could you take this out against a customer? Instead, you should be listening to your customers through these venues like a Twitter, like Facebook, and hearing what they have to say. And instead, what happened in this case was that one person for Price Chopper instead sought retaliation for these comments that were made. It does get us all a chance to step back and have us all look at what is social media and how does it play a role in as word spreads now from a business point of view especially.
Even if you took social media, this is really about customer service.
Sure.
I can't think with Facebook and Twitter now, they are such easy ways to really connect, and you feel a personal connection. When someone you don't know sends you a message on Facebook or Twitter or responds to something that you've put out there, there's an intimacy that you would not normally think is associated with something with a computer. Sometimes it could be better than a phone call. It could be better than getting a form letter from the company because it's so instant. And to have a colossal mistake like this happen is truly something to learn from because, Price Chopper learned a lesson here, and I'm sure all of the other supermarket chains and anybody who does business and also is representing themselves on social media has learned a lesson from what happened here. And that is, you certainly can't retaliate. There's a lot of complaints out there.
Well, yeah, and Jerry Golub from Price Chopper said it in the class today. He said that social media has leveled the playing field. And what that means is that if you're a customer in his store, you have just about as much power as he does in how this business is going to be run, because suddenly you have the power to say, hey, there was something wrong here, and I want people to know about it, and I want Price Chopper to know about it, and I'd like a little bit of satisfaction. It's not just going to the customer service desk anymore.
Not at all.
Now, implied in all this, there's a lot of trust that needs to take place, too, because people could also damage a business by spreading stuff that's not true.
Which is why it's important we do it. If you're a public person or not, I mean, you need to be on here and checking what's being said about you. It's a great, they used to say, have you ever Googled yourself?
Right.
And nobody had ever Googled themselves.
It's become an imperative.
It's important to go on Twitter and Facebook if you're in those realms and find out what's being said about you. Because,
yeah, you're right. They do. And one more wrap-up, just a quick check on the laptop one more time if you can. It's been kind of fun. The people that were following this today and Professor Rotolo's class, they've been talking about the fact that you and I have been talking about this on the news on Twitter. So it's come
a little surreal.
Come full circle. If you'd like to make your comments, let us know what you think about this debate. Thank you,
Be
Mike.
nice.
Yeah, and be nice about what we said.
To both of us.
Go to CNYCentral.com because there are some real experts that are paying attention to this tonight, too.